It's really important for teams to ask why, because it helps teams to understand the actual risk that we're trying to get to when we do CDD processes. Of course, it's important for teams to be following their policies and procedures, but really encouraging them to ask those why questions. Why this answer? Why this information that we need to gather? It's all about helping them look for those risk indicators. Fundamentally, CDD is a risk management process. So if we can encourage teams to be a little bit more curious, think about exploring some of the answers that they've been given, asking questions and asking why they've been given those answers, then we can make them better at doing those processes. These skills are so important because building on that idea of asking why, listening to what you're being told is one of the best tools a team member can have to understand and really delve into some of that conversation with the customer or with the client. CDD is about exploring, looking for reasons and looking for understanding about what that customer is doing. So if you can really develop and practice those listening skills, that can help you with active listening and then be able to form your questions in response to those. Ultimately, that helps that conversation with the client go a little bit more smoothly. It helps us to not ask repeated questions when we don't need to, and it helps us tailor and target the questions that we do need to ask by understanding fully what the customer has told us. Dealing with corporate structures is one of today's biggest CDD challenges, and typically teams can find that quite tricky. There's lots of different corporate structures that you might come across in your working life. You might be dealing with complex structures. There might be state-owned entities involved. There might be different types of roles or shareholdings. Those things can also be different between jurisdictions. So it's quite a complex world. Nonetheless, it's still hugely important for CDD teams to be unpicking those complex corporate structures. It's one of the key things about CDD. To help us manage risk, we have to understand who those key people are behind the corporate structures that we're onboarding. So understanding how to explore those, understanding what you're expecting to see in certain corporate structures or certain legal entity types is really important. It's really important to think about CDD as a continuous journey. It's not a destination. It's not something you do once and then never revisit. We often talk with the students on our course about how to make the decision of when they need to continue exploring with their CDD questions and when they're able to make the decision that there's enough information. That's often quite a tricky decision to make for CDD teams, and it's not always clear-cut. It can be difficult if there are complex corporate structures, different jurisdictions, different legal entities involved. So we talk to our students about the ability to look at information that's already been gathered, to use that element of judgment and confident decision-making to help them understand when enough is enough in terms of CDD information, and when they need to ask just those few more questions to help us understand the risk thoroughly.